Sam Boxall here. Welcome to the Business and Balance podcast. My guest today is none other than Mr. Edd Sedgwick. For those of you who maybe know me already, will know that we are, of course, best mates. So this one is going to go off without a hitch. We've got loads of history together, but there's so many areas of like life and work and business we chat about all the time that is 100% worth us going through a few things. So I'll run a quick intro. So Mr. Sedgwick started life, as most of us do, being born.
Yeah, back in 91.
And more to the point of the podcast, when we met, was working at Halfords and has now progressed all the way to being one of the world's most highly respected production, tour, sound engineers, dealing with some of the biggest artists in the world. So today we're going to try and tease out some interesting insights into probably a lot of productivity stuff, certainly some business and some finance, and just get a bit of an understanding as to how it all works. So welcome, Mr. Sedgwick.
Thanks, Mr. Boxall. Pleasure to be here. It was inevitable, really.
It's probably the nicest string of sentences I've ever said.
Yeah, I don't really know how to follow that. It's a lot of pressure.
It's okay. You haven't got to intro me.
Yeah, guys, it's Sam. You already know.
Yeah, so look, let's dive in head first, actually, because this is a question that's come up in a few of the episodes I've recorded so far, because there seems to be a bit of a theme around people that had a job and have then ended up like diving into running their own business, or have run off and gotten self-employed and done that kind of thing. So I have a vague idea of this, but for the people certainly listening in their cars or at home, give us a brief rundown of maybe from sort of Halfords, what actually pushed you over the edge to ending up running off and doing your own thing.
If what you're getting from doing your self-employed or your side hustle, whatever it is at the time, suddenly then outweighs your income from the job you have, is definitely a key point. So if you're working the two and you're working loads of hours and you're not really, you're just working all the time and you've got these two jobs, one that you love and one that you're working because it's a job, then it's kind of a clear, it's just like, well, actually, you should go and do it. But then the flip of that is when you've got a 9-to-5 job or whatever it is, or you're being employed by someone. I remember that feeling so well, where I was chatting to my partner and we were trying to work out what we were going to do. And like that moment you went to hand in your notice.
Yeah.
And it's so scary. So it for me, it was knowing what I wanted to do, which obviously music. At the time, it was kind of sound engineer, production manager type stuff. And, I loved my job. It was a good job. It was fun. It was fine, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. And it was the way that I knew I could go and do so much more. So it was a window and I wanted to do it.
Yeah, I think so. One thing definitely with your situation that a lot of people who talk about going off and starting a business or starting a side hustle miss is people seem to have this perception like it's all or nothing. You got to go all in. You got to quit your job. You got to start your side hustle. You got to do your thing. You just got to go ballistic and like throw caution to the wind.
You can't do that.
No, I don't know anyone really with like, well, certainly not in my circle of like successful people. Everybody got the boat as close to they could to the edge before making the jump.
Close enough. There's a little life raft to jump back into too, just in case it doesn't work out. But yeah, you can't just jump into it. And if you can, and that works, that's
fine.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well done. But I think for me, it was definitely, I held out as long as I could with the full-time job. And as I just said, like the hours were getting too much and the balances were kind of tipping further towards me being self-employed and starting my own company. And just the nature of the work, I naturally led there.
Yeah. So I think there's more to it than just the financial side of stuff. So obviously you get yourself into a situation where you had some decent income from the side hustle. You can effectively start to think about moving on from the job. But aside from the like financial risks, did you ever feel there was like an emotional burden of people that worked where you worked and then you going off and doing your own thing and having that fear of like, oh yeah, we told you it wouldn't work out. I told you so. You'll see you in 6 months.
It's
You'll
funny.
come crawling back.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I've got memories of certainly going back because it was Halfords, as you said, and you'd go in there. I spent every day going in, so I'd go back. I'd get my screen washed, get my light bulbs.
Yeah.
You'd go in, you'd see the same people in there. And it's funny because when you're thinking about it after going back, it's like people, oh, you're still doing the music stuff. And I think music's a great example for this because in any iteration of music, people think whether you're a performer, whether you're working in the music, it's just a bit of fun.
Yeah.
And that's probably the same for lots of industries where you step away. And I definitely had the fear of people going, oh, he's going off, he's going on tour, he's going to do cool stuff. And yeah, definitely, there's the fear.
Yeah, that's so true. That's such a funny thing around certainly like creative industries. I think anything like that. I mean, we even get that now. It's so funny. Biggest guitar competition company in the world, millions and millions in revenue. And like Andy always jokes, he like goes off to like a family party and he'll have like Uncle Bob or someone who's like, how's your little guitar business?
Still doing your guitar thing. It's going all right, actually. Yeah, it's still going.
It's really funny. But it is creative industries. They do get sort of hard with this strange brush of like, because I think people just inherently believe you just shouldn't enjoy your work. Like you're doing something that's supposed to be fun, so it can't be serious.
Yeah, you're off doing your hobby and you're not working. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's because it's just a mystery to a lot of people of how it actually works.
Yeah, which is weird though, because if we followed another passion of ours, drinking wine, we probably wouldn't have that issue with being professional wine tasters.
No, but we'd have a great vineyard, and we'd all live in Sicily or somewhere nice.
That would be good. Yeah, just drinking Chardonnay.
Not true.
Okay, so from humble beginnings in a fairly regular job, albeit doing very well at it, to the next step of like running your own thing, and then you ended up for a while working for a couple of different companies, and then now back kind of doing your own thing again. So what's been the process there? What I think for people listening, it's interesting, like you don't get much of a chance to hear from somebody who works with people who pretty much everyone listening will perceive as like some of the most famous people in the world, like just huge artists. I mean, even from you helping me move some suitcases from London, that was just because you happened to be at a show with Ed Sheeran. Right. So mega artists and mega stuff. But it doesn't just go from Halfords to A-listers, right?
No, it doesn't.
There's an in-between.
Yes. I think my example was years of graft, and not in the sense of like I worked really hard to get here, but it was just years of graft working with local production companies or the smaller businesses and almost learning the ropes. But I guess a bit we've missed here is I went to uni and studied, music technology, acoustics, and kind of went off and found my avenue within that industry of what I wanted to do. And I came out of uni and I thought I knew everything.
Yeah.
And I remember, in fact, you were also involved in this scenario. Like one of the first big festival gigs we did together, kind of came out of uni. I was like, yeah, I know all the cables. I know what I'm doing. I know how it works. Just get me on the desk. And then just suddenly being faced with all of these scenarios where I had no idea about any, like the simplest, someone would say to me, get me this XY, whichever cable. I think in that example, it's like a type of socket or like a different power or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's cool. So I've actually got no idea. I thought I knew where I was. And from that, I guess, working for years with a production company, it was hard graft and it wasn't the nicest company, but there were really good people who worked there. And we did a lot of gigs. And because it was a smaller company, we kind of inherited all the roles.
Yeah.
So, you'd be driving to the gigs, you'd be doing the audio, but you'd also be doing the setup, you'd be doing the advancing, the production, and almost like the production management of the show as well. And to some respect, the tour management. So I guess kind of the transition there is, you do loads of that stuff, get a whole bucket full of experience of the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And then through doing those shows and kind of working at festival stages, all these touring theatre shows, you kind of meet people, you meet other engineers you work with, and it is very much a word of mouth industry. So you'd meet people, you'd say on the phone, or you'd work with a band at a festival, and you just get asked to come and cover someone.
Yeah.
And that was kind of how I got one of my first tour management gigs, which was tour management front of house duo, as a lot of it is the kind of the lower end, just through covering a mate. And I ended up getting the gig, carrying on. They moved on to other bigger, better things. And And from there, it's just working. It's working with different managements, different artists, and then working with kind of bigger companies, bigger suppliers. You learn more kit that you thought you knew already. I mean, there's same with every industry. There's always more like new equipment, new releases, new firmware, new software, new desks in our case. And then you just keep getting called.
Yeah.
And then here we are.
It's not really like dissimilar to probably most people's interaction with starting a business or being part of a startup. Because, like you're saying about working for the company in the beginning, you end up doing all roles, which is much the same as if you start a business. You know, you're everything from the cleaner up to the guy running the ads and doing the whatever. Everything. Yeah, so you kind of got that startup mentality kind of experience as well, which is cool. And then like you said, it's a word of mouth industry is quite brutal in a way, because obviously word of mouth works both ways.
It really does, and it's probably worth on adjacent to that is also a handshake industry as well. So there's very few contracts unless they're NDAs. Unless you're on retainers, which you do have. There are quite a few retainers with some artists because they want you available all the time. But it's very much a handshake industry. Come and work for us. Do this.
Which is
but you could go straight away.
Yeah, which is mad though, because like some of these tours are in certainly the hundreds of thousands, maybe more. So that it's not small money. It's not. It's
more. There's at least 6 zeros on a lot of them.
Yeah,
and it goes a really long way. And you're just brought in, and you're not on a contract. And the way. Yeah, as a company, the way it works is we look after them, we do all the accounts, and then deliver a show. Yeah.
I suppose, like, obviously, as you get higher and higher up in the industry, the money's decent.
Yeah,
but it should be for the risk. Like, it's all relative, really high risk.
That's that classic saying. It's that everything is relative, and the bigger the gig, yes, the day rates usually are higher, the advancing fees are higher, but then. You could be that perception of you be sitting in a room doing nothing as a tour manager to people, on the ground every day. But you're obviously dealing with all the stuff behind the scenes. And kind of the large values of money. There's a lot of risk. It's not really, the money doesn't ever really faze me, I guess. It's more, it's like, because we deal with logistics and everything and getting people around.
Yeah.
The crunch time is when you've got like 50 flights on a day happening, and you all of that stuff, all the ground transport movements, and it's getting people from A to B, because that is simple stuff in singularity, but you add everyone together and all these moving pieces, then one ball dropped.
Yeah.
One is a really big pain for everyone, quite a ball ache for me, and then two just costs loads of money for the artists.
Yeah.
Or whoever you're working for.
Yeah. Okay. So just for people who probably don't, because I'm probably glossing over things here because I have a bit of an understanding of the industry. So just to paint a clearer picture for people, just a few quick answer questions, quick fire questions, I should say. So what artists are you fairly regularly working with, so people can get an idea?
Regularly, the Vaccines, love them. They've been bread and butter and kind of my main artist for loads of years. They are an English indie rock band, I'm sure some people will know, but I do tour management and monitors for them, which is kind of the sound that people hear on stage. So I mix what the band hear, and then there's another sound engineer that would do the front of house, which is the sound that the audience hear. Jax Jones, who's kind of a DJ act, but a very highly regarded producer, works with loads of artists. Anne-Marie, who I'm tour management for, female pop singer. I'm sure, again, she's great. Everyone's great. And then there's a company, kind of the wider, that I oversee or work alongside people. Like Ed, obviously you've mentioned Ed, Sigala, Sigma, Dombresky. Like there's quite a few going on, and there's lots of other stuff in the woodwork that probably shouldn't talk about too much. But it's just busy. A lot of commercial pop stuff, and all of that.
Yeah. Okay. And then in that, what does a really, really good, simple, nice work day look like for you? And what does this is just the worst thing, everything's going on wrong day look like for you?
A simple, lovely work day is it being a show that's not your own. And by that, I mean a show that you rock up to with the artist, and everything is delivered. So there's already audio, there's already a stage, there's already lights, and you're rocking up with your team, who we always work with a really good team, and it's just lovely. You turn up like a multi-artist event. They do loads of like radio shows, that sort of stuff. 20 minutes there, in and out, lovely day. I'm not sure if it's a bad day.
No, but you know what I mean. Like everything's hit the fan.
Yeah, exactly. Fly shows.
Okay.
And we do loads of them. Rack scenes are brilliant at fly shows. We fly with like 30 cases of equipment. We get in the night before, smash out a show, done, hire the drum, the stuff you can't fly.
But to make all that happen, like how many flights are you booking?
Fine. That's fine. The fly shows are fine. Like we love that. That's fun. Everyone loves keeping themselves on their toes. It's when you do a fly show and the next morning you then need to fly to another show. And I've got a good example. I think I'm going to say 2018 because I do remember it quite well. We had a show, great show, came off stage at midnight or something, and then a 6 a.m. flight to Norway or somewhere. It was a stretch, and then a ferry for like 2 hours, and then a bus from the ferry to the festival, and we got there 2 hours before the show time. And in these situations, we've got all the kit. We hadn't lost a case, which is brilliant.
That's good.
And God bless AirTags. So we hadn't lost anything, but you turn up and it's all the equipment you're not expecting, and it's a really boutique little festival in the middle of nowhere. They think it's quite cute, and but that in turn actually means it's a little small, and maybe it's not quite all there. Great show, but like you might be missing something, or you might be a substitution. That's a bad day. Yeah. Still a good gig by all measures, but it's like you spend your whole day traveling, which is already work.
Yeah.
And then you get to the gig.
So naturally, with this line of work, there's a lot of travel. That must have a big impact, not just on the work, but then how does that play out in terms of family life, social life? You have a lot of time away and then maybe some stints at home. Like, what does that look like?
I think if you'd asked me that question 2 months ago, it would be a different answer to today.
Okay.
But that's just, it's the ebb and flow of the year, as you know, with me being around or not being around. I've been away for the last 2 months with kind of 3 days in between, and I'm back now for 4 days.
Yeah.
And then on Wednesday, I fly to America. So I guess hard is the one word answer. And it is very much, sometimes I could be home for 4 weeks, and that's amazing. Obviously Sam knows I've got I've got a family, I've got a wife and a little son, Mason, who's 17 months old.
Yeah.
And he's at the age now where we FaceTime every day, and you do what you can do. I couldn't imagine doing this 10, 20 years ago. It'd be impossible from like a family point of view. But yeah, there's loads of traveling, and you're away for prolonged periods of time, but you are home for prolonged periods of time. And that's our constant trade-off.
Yeah. So,
our argument is, all these shows are coming in, all the work's coming in. And just for context within this industry, you can't just say, oh, you know what, you're doing a 4-week tour, I'll do week 1 and 2 and the swap. It just doesn't. Yeah,
there's no rotas. There's no shift patterns.
You're in or you're out. And that's not artists being ruthless. That's just the way the industry works. And you just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
You couldn't hop in and out and share it with someone. So it's finding the ways to cope while you're away.
Yeah.
Because the simplest thing is birthdays or like family events. You just miss. 1 year you could hit all of them. The next year you could miss all of them. Like I missed my wife's 30th this year. We had we saw each other before and we celebrated it before I went, but I still missed it.
Yeah.
Probably missed your 30th. I can't remember. It was quite a while ago now.
I don't know if you have actually. I think I've always probably got pretty lucky, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know, but
yeah. So, what kind of what tactical things are you doing while you're away to make sure that you can like keep on top of that stuff?
Well, every couple of from like a couple point of view and a relationship point of view, I guess, honing in on that. Every couple was different and have their own muses or their ways to kind of keep it going. Alex and I love walking. We always did before Mason, and we particularly did with Mason in the pram.
Yeah, me too. I love walking.
That's an in-joke, by the way. Sam hates walking. So I go on, we try and kind of make a pact to each other. Instead of just sitting down in the office, in a venue, like damn smelling horrible office, I go for a walk for half an hour, and I'll call her on that walk, and I'll talk way more on the walk than I would do if I was just sitting down for 5 minutes. Like 5 minutes of walking and talking, you put the world to right, have a good chat, emotions caught up, or 5 minutes of sitting down in an environment you're uncomfortable in, or you're surrounded by other people that can hear you. You don't
Can't get interrupted.
Privacy,
Yeah.
walking amongst strangers, AirPods in, is bliss. I think that's a really, really important thing that I probably don't do enough, being honest, but I try to.
That's a good shout, though. That's something I haven't actually even thought of that before. But like, I certainly, when I'm on important phone calls, I do pace. And actually, like, now I think about it, Tim Ferriss does this all the time, and so does Gregor Gallagher, who are both two people who I love following, proper fanboy. Both of those guys schedule all of their meetings in the time it takes them to do their 10,000 steps a day, basically. Like, they get out, do their
10,000 straight.
And just do all the calls in that time. So it's just like, this is it. I'm going to get this
Apple
done.
Watch goes off.
That's it. And it's just, well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're just cutting people off. It's like, sorry, I've got to
go. My rings of
imagine that. Yeah, you don't, it's not timed on time. It's timed on steps. Yeah. That'd be good. That's a good way to do it, actually.
Yeah, I'd be running in a terrible meeting.
Yeah. No, well, that's cool.
No, but that's probably and Alex she preaches this more than I practice, maybe, but like, that's when we have the best conversations. Aside from that, it's FaceTimes, lots of photos.
Yeah.
You know, she's amazing. She sends me a photo of him in the morning when they wake up, you know.
Yeah.
The wholesome stuff you need to see to make you feel at home when you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And like you said, like, it's swings and roundabouts. And I suppose it's, when people have a family, it's a lifestyle that you have to just fully embrace and be like, this is what we're going to do. And you just work it out, don't you? Like, you just kind of, it's like anything, really.
You just kind of go with it. I mean, I'm very fortunate that a lot of the people I work with do have families, or a lot of people around me have families, like other people on the road or bands. Like, the band I'm out with at the moment, they're kind of leapfrogging different kids out. So, you know, one day they have their oldest for a week, and then, you know, so we've got like kids running around the tour bus, running around the venue, you know, they've got the big ear defenders on in sound check or hitting the drums. And it's like, it's really good to see, and it's quite refreshing, and everyone's very aware that people have families at home.
Yeah. Okay. So you're obviously in a great place right now, crushing it. Business is good. Money's good. Gigs are great. Artists are great. But have you got any thoughts? A lot of what I've spoke about with some other guests or some of the content I've been posting has been around this kind of idea of financial freedom. And over the last year, I've begun to learn that there's different types of freedom. So lots of people talk about the financial freedom side of stuff because people just like talking about money.
Yeah.
But I've seen it as that there's financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom. So it's no good having a massive income if you don't have any control over your time or your location.
Yeah.
And it's no good being in control of your location and your time if you've got no money. Like, you kind of need to find out where that balance is for all of them.
Yeah. Business and balance.
Yeah, I think there's a balance that suits everyone. And is there a balance you're striving towards, or like, is there something in your head you just think, oh, it'd be amazing if I could do this? And you got like a game plan as towards? Like,
yeah, I definitely got at least a 5 and a 10 year plan. But right now I can confidently say my balance is terrible. But that's because I'm straight down the middle, and I'm on 4 days back, and I've seen my wife 9 days this year.
The thing is if you understand that and you accept that, and then you can make it kind of work around.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it earlier. I know I'm on a long run, and you take the dates while you can. With the mindset that in 3 months' time I might have a month off, which is probably not reality over the summer, but maybe after that. And I guess for me, I think location freedom is more on the horizon than time, I guess.
Yeah.
And by that I mean, because with the nature of my job, I'm not always needed to be at the show.
Okay.
So I do a lot of what we call advancing, which is just all of the stuff to make sure the show happens before the artist or the band or the crew or whoever get there. And there's a lot of time spent doing that, and you know there is a reasonable income from doing that. So picking up more advancing work while working from home, is then more location. Like I know I can be at home or I could be on holiday work.
Yeah.
It's work from a laptop and an iPad next to you with a second screen, and you can just take that anywhere.
Yeah, cool.
So that's maybe the plan. Less touring in 10 years, more time at home. I mean, maybe I'll just get a campsite and just set up a wicked coffee shop. I don't know. I mean, you joke, or I joke, but it's probably that. Work hard now, and that someone's idea of a financial freedom. They've got this business ticking over. They're not no hefty bills. They own it, and then they've just got a wicked little coffee shop where everyone comes to.
Yeah, and it is. There is definitely a balance. I think, like, the thing is, though, is people like me and you, and probably pretty much everyone listening to this, you're just always going to have like a hunger for something. Yeah. That's what's led me down this path of doing some, more things for myself and trying to help sort of open up conversations and maybe educate people and discuss like the little things in business that I feel like I've kind of got down pretty good. Now I having the opportunity to try and help other people with that is what's actually keeping me driven at the moment, because it's like I sort of got to the point where I was like, it's not really.
So keep the fun in.
Yeah, because everything just got a bit safe.
Yeah.
It goes from being like this crazy business and side hustle to just being like a really flatline, safe, efficient company.
Brilliant machine.
Yeah.
I guess actually,
that's not fun anymore.
On that is for me, I do have like, my day is hypothetical, it's the same every day. It might be a travel day, it might be a show day, but we do a show every day, but every day it's different.
Yes.
And that is, for me, a lot of where like the fire or the fun, show me a tour manager or production manager who doesn't like challenges and like, keep on their toes and it being different.
Yeah.
So definitely still excited a lot by what I'm doing in the work, which is why it's so hard to not be doing it.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind. If you went and built like a really simple, beautifully clean cut business, even if it was at great margins, making good money, it's still get boring. Yeah, you still have to have something that's just like cutting through a little bit and just keeping you on edge. It's always the strangest things. Like I find it mostly with like, I haven't done any web development for years, like the sites have got too big. They're way beyond me now, but I still want to like tinker, like, because I still want like, even if fingers
on the pulse. Yeah.
There's something about like, there being like 1,000 people on the website and like you making a color change and just be like, I hope this doesn't destroy it. I hope this doesn't bring it all down. Fingers crossed it's okay.
You've got too much time on your hands when you're just focusing on one color change.
Yeah, I know. That is literally it.
But...
Man. Okay, right. I've got some quick fire questions. Go. Let's blast through these. I'm going to get my beautiful brown notebook.
It's a really nice notebook.
You know what? This has been, for anyone listening right now, this has been probably one of the biggest game changers of my year. I was terrible at writing. I've never been able to write.
Do you do a week in there? So notes in a week. I mean, obviously, like some other people that I'm sure we listen to, you'd write down all your thoughts in a week and talk about them. Or
so I'm not as religious as like making sure I'm doing stuff throughout the week. But what I've tried to do is all the stuff I used to write in Evernote or Monday or on notes on my phone, I don't do it anymore. I've completely like
analog.
Yeah, I've tried to get completely acoustic, and I've tried to just basically. And I'll tell you what's nuts, right? Where are we now? February. My handwriting has got so much better. It sounds stupid.
No,
obviously it's got better.
If I write a shopping list, number 1, perfect. You get to number 20. I've got no idea what I'm buying.
Okay, well, literally, my handwriting is just appalling. My grammar and my spelling is okay. It's passable at best. But like, I've really enjoyed writing, and I don't know what it's done for me, but it's changed the way I speak, my vocabulary, like just being able to like articulate certain sentences. Because I've been writing more, it's like I'm understanding how the sentences are structured better.
You're slapping those commas and full stops in your head as you're speaking.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I do understand now fully why people like Tim Ferriss, Alex Hormozy, these guys who have published successful books, there's a reason like when they speak, it's captivating. And I honestly, I think it's all down to the writing. they're writers first and foremost, and then it just means that they find it very easy
to articulate their thoughts and
Totally. I think so. So I've written down these questions.
Brilliant.
Because,
I'm going to come at you with a very unarticulated answer.
You'll be fine. Okay. So I should imagine you get through a bit of this, actually. So this is a pretty straightforward one. Your favorite book or podcast. Now, it can be current, or it could be a book that you just always love recommending to people, or maybe a podcast. Not a particular one, but it could be a podcaster. Yeah.
You know what? I'm Diary of a CEO. I loved that podcast because you hear the progression through the podcast as well.
Sure.
You know, when he's under the stairs in his cupboard recording it and it sounds terrible, and where it is now. That's been kind of my longest book wise. Now, I love short books. I struggle with time and allocating it to read long books, so I don't have the best answer. But I do. I loved Lance Armstrong before it all went bad.
Oh yeah,
great book. I think how many books did he have? 3, maybe. There were a few, weren't there?
Yeah. Funnily enough, though, my favourite books have always been, even though I live and breathe business books, my favourite ones have always been directed around particular people rather than business and brands.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. I do, yeah, like biography type things.
Yeah.
That's more where I'd lean to, just finding about, like, obviously the Bezos book and, great book.
Cool. All right, nice. Okay, number 2, and I think you should have many of these because I know you're a bit of a productive kind of guy, bit of a productivity. I'm not going to say guru, but certainly you're in the weeds. You're having to be productive. There's no question. So your favorite habit that you've built in the last, say, year or so?
Yeah, without sounding like a complete nerd, number 1, color coding my flag system on emails.
Oh, okay.
So I deal with horrendous amounts of emails, as loads of people do. But I can leave it for 2 days and come back, and I've got like 300 unread emails, and it's just brutal. So a quick time measure, like to get through the stack of them, I'll just color code them, and that could be by whichever artist I'm out on campaign with. If I've got 3 or 4 different acts, I have a color code for each act. One could be finance or accounting. And then once they're color coded, the old 80-20 rule. So jump at them, and I'll know, if something needs to be paid now, and if I don't pay it now, a show won't happen in 2 days. That's up there, and that needs to get done.
That's got a red flag.
Yeah, that's straight in. But if we're talking about a creative campaign for 6 months' time, and we're talking about potential set lists or potential designs or looks, I could probably circle back to that in a few days, and it'd be all right.
Yeah.
So that's changed from the way I work flags.
Cool. I like it. I did. I've only recently discovered flags. Yeah. Well, no, not only recently discovered flags. I've only recently discovered that there's more than just the orange one.
Yeah. That's because you've been doing it on your phone for too long. You get on that desktop, you can go nuts on it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And then we started like designating some of them inside the business, and Dan went for like quite a pale blue, and naturally I just chose the grey, and they nearly look the same, and we just cross over all the time anyway. So they're perfect.
Do you ever use smart mailboxes?
Yeah, we use those for like all of the sort of winner emails and bits and bobs like that.
Just like word captures and stuff.
Yeah, well, luckily, like on the back end of the site, because of all the different prize types and things like that, I've pre-built all of the email headers to tie in with the mailboxes, so it's perfect.
So I do something very similar for advancing shows.
Yeah.
So I have a smart mailbox for every show advance you do, and that might be 30 on a run, it might be 2 on a weekend, it doesn't matter. But I format every show advance's subject title the same. So it pulls back, and I know it'll automatically go in that folder.
Nice.
And that's another good life hack, because it means everything until they reply it from another email chain, and then I just delete that email chain, copy everything from it and start my new one and reply to them.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, here's a fun one. What is something that might surprise people if they found out that you liked or were into?
I have no soul anymore. No, I don't know. What am I into? See, that's the problem when you've been so
You're
busy.
into a lot of things.
No, yeah, maybe that's it. elephant in the room. I love pizza. I adore
True.
pizza so much. Most of my friends or people I work with or anyone I can talk to would know that I like pizza.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest, I really love the process of making the dough, the time, and I love cooking it.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I think I certainly like if people didn't know you, then they started having a conversation, and they were
5 minutes,
they were
maybe?
well they were thinking like, yeah, let's just talk about like a local pizza restaurant, and then like 2 hours later you're walking them through like the flour you import from Italy and
Yeah.
yeah.
Again, pizza's one of those. Pizza, I mean, nowadays, wine. I like wine a bit more, maybe because I'm a travelled man, perhaps. I don't know. Sam's a big fan of Chardonnay, and he's got a great glass for us today.
But yeah, look, I like Chardonnay.
Some people do. That's why there's so much of it in the
I'm
supermarket.
starting to think no one does. I feel like I might be the only person.
Yeah, pizza definitely foremost.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a great one. Okay, so a few people who I've had on so far have found this question quite challenging, and I think it is difficult to pinpoint one person. For me, it's just so straightforward. I think I've just always had the same person, which is Richard Branson. But for you, if you could just have a coffee or a beer or a chat and a hang with anyone, past or present, who would that be?
There's loads of people I'd love just to have a chat and a hang with.
You don't want to be cliche, do you? That's the problem. Like
Yeah.
pretty much everyone could say someone quite obvious, but then it's like,
I'd love to talk to Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
Cool, that would be amazing.
Obviously, you're already chatting with me.
Yeah, well, that was number 2, so I'm gonna have to go for number 3 now. So, I like an absolute maverick or someone like Henry Ford, just someone wild like Henry Ford, or just an absolute OG innovator, like someone who made something really cool.
Yeah.
And also, I just like to talk to someone from years ago.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool, actually.
Because there's loads of people I would love to sit down with Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
And like that man has been through an unbelievable like tale. His whole life is wild, and it would be an incredible evening. So present, probably him, but like just some old school absolute legend who invented something really cool and has a legacy behind them.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you mention that, I've never actually like delved into people in the past so much. And there's so many ones that just jump to mind, like Winston Churchill, that would just be wild.
Edison, anyone. Like, all of that's, people who are just household names in the history books, but what were they like, or what would even a conversation be like with them?
Yeah. Okay, final one. You've obviously got a lot going on. Business is crushing it. Family life keeping busy. But what is your main goal right now? Your main goal. It can be anything. It can be financial. It can be balance. It can be family life. It can be whatever it is. What are you focused on getting solved?
Well, balance. Like, genuinely.
Yeah.
No, balance is definitely, family life is great, but it's also trying to keep that great.
Yeah.
Which, I could say yes to all the gigs in the world, which we get, we've got loads of offers, which is a brilliant position to be in. But trying to just progress my career without getting sidetracked by saying yes to all the gigs, all the shows that might not be progressing my career is probably the main goal. Is more like, and it's conversations that Alex and I do have quite often. It's just working out what direction we want to go in, what's actually going to be the next steps for the business, for like the brand, the people, rather than just saying yes to every gig. And maybe there's been quite a few years of saying yes to every gig to get the gigs and to keep busy and to get the money and you do all of that. But it's probably now more focused on honing in and getting towards working with the stadium artists. Like if I'm on a stadium tour next year, wicked. Yeah,
it really is tricky. And this isn't like a situation that's unique to just people who are away from work. I think this is the problem inside any businessman, entrepreneur's head, because I certainly had this for like many years where I'd be working all day, all night, just hustling, and then I painted a picture inside my head that, well, yeah, this is all good because I'm doing this because I'm providing for my family.
Income and I'm moving forward. Yeah, of course.
Exactly. And it was like, even if I miss stuff with the kids and I miss stuff with Megan and whatever, it was always this idea of like, yes, well, I'm doing this and I'm lifting our family up and I'm helping grow everything and I'm being supportive. And then at some point I had a sort of, I'm going to call it an epiphany, but I sort of realized it was literally one night, it like smacked me in the face. And I was just like, oh
Why?
no, I'm doing it for me.
Yes,
I was like,
yeah.
oh yeah, no, it's actually my ego. No, I want all the money and all the success and all that. And I was like,
the why,
okay, I've got to like try and find some cut-offs now. And don't get me wrong, I'm saying this, and I probably realized this like over a year ago, and I'm still very gradually getting better at it.
It's not an overnight thing.
Oh god, I don't think it's an thing you ever get. I
But
think
you're
you just
probably
get better.
right, like-
it's a muscle.
Yeah, I'm. It's a selfish game.
Yeah, it's tough.
Like business is selfish, and if you do you, and you're doing what you want to do because one, yes, you're supporting your family, but two, because you want to do it. And the same for me. It's I do what I do because I love it. I think it's super cool, and I get a kick out of it. And I'm also supporting my family, and we're very blessed to be doing what we want to be doing. But just doing it again for the right reasons and just the right things.
Yeah. But you can't get to the top tier without gunning for it. That is the unfortunate thing. You can't go... Being middle of the road, unfortunately, doesn't land you in the middle of the road. You still just end up at the bottom.
Yeah.
So you've got to
you get tired.
You've got to gun for the top, and then, try and, I suppose, just like fall somewhere in, a comfortable little ledge somewhere that you can find a grip.
Yeah, just comfortably on the edge, just hanging there, just sailing along.
It's tough, man. I mean, at least we've got each other to try and help work it out.
I think more importantly, at least our wives have each other.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Man, listen, thanks so much for the chat. I really do appreciate it. And I do appreciate every one of you listening and tuning in and watching. No doubt some of these clips will be resurfacing around online. I'm sure there's some golden nuggets in there for sure. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll be back with the next one as soon as possible. Cheers.
Cheers.